where I give my goodbyes because at 5 o'clock you turn into a herd of elephants and rush out the door. Same quote I had yesterday. So I usually try to wrap up here and say thank you for being here and sitting through this. I know it's not the most exciting stuff, but you have to admit you got what you paid for. You wanted to hear about ASC 7, you're going to get some ASC 7. So what I mentioned before, I like to give this little talk, and it's especially fitting since today is essentially ending my 4-year barnstorming career of Half Moon. I'm still going to be involved, but not as much. But it relates to my Florida work. So I was down, and some of you may have heard this story if you've been to some other seminars of mine, but I was down in Florida quite a bit. I mentioned I was doing a lot of my hurricane work, and I actually had an opportunity there, which when you have a family at home, it's rare, but I spent a weekend down in Florida. I had a late Friday work, and then I had early Sunday morning appointment. So I got to spend Saturday kind of goofing around in the state of Florida, and I decided to go to the Kennedy Space Center, somewhere I hadn't been before, and I went to go check it out. I'm a big space fan. Grew up in the era of the space shuttle in the early 80s as a kid in elementary school and such, and spent the whole day there. Loved it. Got to see all the exhibits, and finally made it my way to the big Apollo building with the Saturn rocket and all that, and spent my time in there looking around. And I'm overlooking it. They have a section with a bunch of moon rocks and stuff, and I'm in there, and I see a young, not quite young, but a gentleman that had a little entourage behind him. He had a flight jacket on, and he starts looking at the rocks, and he says, "Well, that's what we brought back." Then I kind of looked, and I said, "Wait a second." He's speaking in first person at the Apollo Museum, and it turns out it was no other than Apollo 15 astronaut Al Worden is standing right next to me. Former Wolverine, actually went to college here, University of Michigan, and it was very inspirational to me. I was very intimidated that here's a man that was on the cover of Life magazine and one of the few people in the world that has circled the moon, been on Mr. Rogers even, so pretty informative. And here he is at 86 years old, spending his time, which I don't know the parameters of why he's there or any other reason than I think he just enjoys what he does. He seemed to have a little group around him and all that, and it's just my way of saying thank you for all these years with Half Moon to be able to contribute what I know, but also a message for you all, especially you seasoned ones. Get out there, talk to like my friend in the back, get on these committees, do what you can to help. We see these codes, we see some odd stuff, right? But, we can make a difference in this. We can get out, get on these committees, help shape the way the future of the building is going. Even something like a Habitat for Humanity trip, I can tell you I did a lot with that program, and they love experienced people, or going to these universities and talking with some of the engineering students. So, if Al can do it at 86 years old, we can definitely help out as well. So that's just my way of saying thank you, but also, think about what we can do to help the future going forward. Jumping back into this, components and cladding. These are some of the things that